Foundation. This is the quickest and fastest way to create and generate a release 12 instance that's configured and ready to use. Let's have a look at how Foundation works. So we'll log into Configurator. And in Configurator, once we select our correct project, we'll select the Foundation option from the menu. Now, in a previous presentation demonstration, it was demonstrated how to prepare and obtain a working set of configurations. We're now going to go and select that working set of configurations by selecting the profile name that we created previously and click on Go. Okay, now it's brought back the configurations. Just to refresh what we have here, I'll go and show you some of the data. I'll browse through the knowledge base, following the menus that look exactly like the Oracle menus. I'll go down to a particular screen where organizations are entered. I've now narrowed down the information displayed to only show the configurations that were prepared as our working set. Now we can see everything is labeled RSC, which is not what is required. Obviously we need to change those, and there are many other configurations that need to be changed. So what configurations do need to be changed? As was mentioned previously, we have a questionnaire template with the values in it that need to be changed. Now, before I bring that template up on screen, imagine that all the configurations that you need to create an Oracle Release 12 instance are in an Excel workbook, and you have hundreds and hundreds of worksheets, and you can do a find replace of that RSC value to the value you want. Now imagine that you can perhaps produce a macro with all of the lists of values, the things that you need to change, and simply run the macro and it processes the find replace one at a time. Well, essentially that's what our questionnaire is. There are a number of things that need to be changed in the 18,000 configurations we have available. What needs to be changed are the responsibilities, for example. And there are a default name set, as you can see I've highlighted in column B. And in column C, we place the value that we wish to use. In this case, we've applied a standard to it, being the company code at the front and the business unit number at the rear. Now there are a number of things through here. You can see responsibilities. There will be responsibility keys. Here we have the segment names. And segment value sets. There are other things along the way, the name of the budget, the ledger, details. Currency, calendar, and so on. What do we get down to? Then there's document sequences. taxes, withholding taxes, AR transaction types, OM transaction types, which there's quite a few of those. And so on. There is a separate presentation on this information. For the purpose of the exercise, I've already prepared this template, so we can proceed with showing you how Foundation uses it and what Foundation does. These are all of the names essentially that would be in your organization chart, plus any other decisions you need to make as to what kind of values need to be changed, at a minimum that is, for your new operating unit. Okay. Now, how that sheet is used by Foundation. Business Unit Configuration Changes Template. Now, how you get the template in the first place, click here to download the file. Then you can make the changes as I showed on the previous screen. Once you've made those changes, you can select the file. Here it is here. Business Unit Configuration Changes. Open. Upload. Now what this will now do, as you will see on the screen in just a moment, it will actually run through and do a find replace of each one of those old and new values that were placed into that template. It's therefore possible, as you can imagine, to actually add additional find replace values to that template. Once you understand the value that is in the knowledge base that you need to find and the value that you need to put in for your customer, then you can create a new find replace. This process, as you see here, simply runs through and makes the change right throughout the knowledge base. So all of the occurrences where the value is shown, it will actually change it from the old to the new value. As you can see, it's almost finished. There we go, and it will bring up a list of changes. The detail of the changes was controlled as to whether we ticked the checkbox on the first screen or not. So this is a summary of all of the old and new values and how many times it was changed. Okay, we now have a few more questions yet to answer, but what we have done so far, we've changed all of the default configurations to new values of our org chart and the standards that we wish to use for this operating unit. The document sequences, responsibilities, transaction types, everything has already been changed. Admitted that you may need to do some more additional changes. You may have a more complex purchasing hierarchy than the simple one that has been put into the default. You may have other things to change, or you may not, depending on the complexity of the business. There is certainly a lot of functionality and a lot of configurations that have been supplied. So we'll move on to looking at the additional questions, which are going to be in the area of the chart of accounts. We'll do that in part 2. I will now bring part 1 to a close.